to the group chat with Tara Thomas and Amanda Goodman of Faith and Four-Letter Words.
Happy Monday on this February morning. I was thinking this morning when I was getting ready to come out here for the show, I was thinking how if you had told us when we met in 2013, someday, so that'd be 13 years later, you'd be doing a live morning show out of one of your bedrooms. It would have seemed not only unfathomable, but we wouldn't have conceived of how that would be possible technologically.
No, the fact that we're even sitting here and we're best friends is also a very
rarity.
It's a rarity to have, the outgoing female anchor and the woman who replaced her when she chose on her own to leave. It is a very, very rare thing. That's why in the show we call it a unicorn friendship. But we do have good news. It is the last Monday in February, which means we're one day closer to spring and we're one day closer to more sunlight.
This month flew by. It's been, I feel like January was the longest month of the year. February, it really has seemed like so short. I mean, in so many ways. And what's crazy is, so my son, they had a professional development day 2 Fridays ago. Then they had a snow day last Friday. Then they have conferences this Thursday and Friday. So I feel like they've been out of school like the whole month.
I mean, I want that work week.
I know.
Can I get that 3 day?
Yeah. And so for those of you who had the snow day on Friday, welcome back to the harder Monday, because after you come off of 3 days of downtime, it makes it even harder to get yourself up and going.
It was the cold weekend, right? So anytime, for me anyway, when it's a cold weekend, it's that pass to slow down, to put the hearty meals in the crock pot, which I saw a video the other day on, it was like a reel on Instagram, and I'm getting at that age where I sit there in my bed and I just laugh at all the reels. And it was a kid coming in, and he's like, "Mom, what's in this?" And it was a crock pot. And this woman's like, she throws in all these weird ingredients. And the kid just like freaks out. He just crumbles. And my son's like, this is how every one of us feel when we walk in and we see the crock pot.
Like, here we go. But good for you to do the crock pot meals. I'm trying to be better about my husband and son and I having more time for sit down meals. But honestly, with his schedule right now, and I'm sure your kids are the same. I mean, when they're in sports now, if your kid comes home before they go to their practice, so sometimes my son comes home after school before he leaves for basketball. Well, then I'm not even home yet. So then I sometimes don't see him until very late when he's yelling at the video games or something, like if you're a boy mom and they're in middle school or high school, there's a good chance that your son has screamed at video games on a regular basis.
Throwing them at the ball. I think I was throwing things. I reached out. You had gone home this weekend to Peoria, Illinois, and I had reached out to you with some screenshots that I was sent over the weekend. I received them from more than a dozen people, which I truly appreciate, because people had my back and were looking out for me. Somebody, I saw something with my own eyes with hundreds of other people. I wrote that I was disappointed of what I saw with my own eyes. I wrote about it on my personal page. Someone in this community was mocking me, referred to me as a wannabe influencer from a small town. And then somebody else who I thought, not really necessarily had a friendship, but we were friendly acquaintances, had basically said that, don't worry, this is coming from somebody who has zero class and all of the things. And I kind of hit pause, and I was affected by it.
Right. Well, of course.
Because that there are people out there. We know that people don't like us. We know that. But I am very much face value. So I will never sit up there and join a conversation. I will not comment or, engage in your personal life, or if I don't want to see you do well, or if I don't like you. So when people do that to me, when people are nice, I take it for face value. Like, okay, they're not talking about me behind, but not everyone moves like that. So I had to flip it in my head and remind myself that rejection is God's protection. And I'm thankful that now I'm aware. And so I just kind of went on, I took stock of my personal social media pages, and I just started unfriending and blocking, because I realized all of these people in this same camp They've never cheered for my kids on social media or gave something a like. They've been nothing but surveillance cameras.
Yeah, that's very true. Well, and part of it is you knew when you sort of spoke out about what you saw, you knew that that would
Mhm.
sometimes activate the backlash, because what we know about all of us is it's hard when people shine a light or turn a mirror toward us if we're in a space and place where we don't necessarily feel comfortable ever saying anything, taking anything critical
Sure.
about circumstances. And I think we're in a unique situation where that was our norm for so long, that we just expect that people are going to hold our kids to a higher standard, or they're going to be very openly critical about something that they feel is right or wrong involving us.
Yeah.
And so I think I think that there's a default where you're just going to talk about what you observe and you're going to really give your social commentary. And then a lot of people are okay with that as long as it's not pointing the finger at them per se.
Right.
And what I mean by that is this same person you speak of, I know the track record, and that person has pointed many a finger at other schools, for example. So I guess I thought it was ironic that
The irony.
Well, once somebody was like, hey, and what about this? Then it was like, okay, well, now we want to hit you below the belt and say that you're a wannabe social media influencer. And I laughed when I read that. And I say that only because the reason I laughed is because we can write off the top of our head name probably, 50 to 100 people that I would say are wannabes in the sense of they're doing TikToks where they're doing like outfit of the day, or they're doing, a post.
Get ready with me.
Yeah, thank you. Get ready with, or they're doing a post. And my perception is they definitely want to be perceived as an influencer. But then when you look at their following and you look at their likes, it doesn't reflect a growing audience, right? So it's just interesting to me because when you look at your situation of building the Amanda Goodman page and sort of that private, different from your work page all those years, I mean, we're talking about like 75 million reach from your analytics. And so not only that's not a wannabe social media influencer, that's somebody who has amassed a reach that most people, especially in a small community, would never even come close to touching or replicating. And so I don't think that that's bragging. I mean, I think that those are just the facts. And so for me, I just found it kind of funny because it's like there are many, many insults that have been tossed out. And that's just one that is actually, it's incorrect.
Well,
it's incorrect.
The problem is the reason that when there is an opinion in the society, a group of people, right? And it's like this, because it's like the sense of entitlement. And that's the reason people have, if this particular group I'm talking about has this sense of like entitlement. We're here and everybody else is here. So this person saying she has no class, she has no class, there, you just nailed it. And we posted yesterday on our Faith in 4-Letter Words Facebook page. Let's not confuse money with class. Luann Desceps, Countess said, money doesn't buy you class.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Money doesn't buy you
great
class.
reference.
Thank you.
Beverly Hills,
You like
from
how I
Real
did that?
Housewives of New York.
That segue in there. But it does not. Like for me, like class is how you treat people when they're not in the room. Class is how you act when no one is looking. Class is what can you do for others that you can get nothing in return. But it's the thing that was bothering, it was eating me all weekend. And I hate even saying that, but things bother me and I bleed when I get cut. I mean, just because I'm tough, but I am so tired of, because I stand on something or I use my voice and, I try to influence change. I'm not trying to influence you to buy something or follow me or to like me. I'm trying to influence change, or to advocate for something, or to talk about the difficult things. And for someone to say, I'm so tired because I do it in a different way, that I have no class, that I'm this, that I'm that, it was a nice cleansing. I
appreciated what you wrote in regard to people sometimes equating, money or a church attendance with somehow being, cleaner and shinier than some of the others in their midst. And I will say, and something that I've learned over the years as a practicing Christian that's really interesting is I would definitely say that there's a huge difference between faith and religion. And what I mean by that is when you look at religion, because of how much tradition is behind so many denominations, and I really respect that. I respect the ritualistic elements of religion. So like, I think it's cool that like you would put ashes on your head in 2026, and people in the 1700s also probably were putting ashes on their head. So I mean, isn't it great when we don't abandon the traditional ritualistic elements of one's denomination or faith? But I also think that we have to be careful, because when we think about going to a church or when we think about a faith community, one thing that I've seen growing up is sometimes people mistake a church home or a group of like-minded faith-focused individuals. It's like a country club with a cross over it. Like they feel like I'm in this special exclusive group and you're on the outside. And what I would counter is, and what I like to think about when I go to church regularly, the church is what we like to think of in my space and my world. And my pastor talks about this. The church is a hospital. So you're going there to get healed. You're going there to get well. You don't come there because you have it all together. You don't come there because you want to impress people and say all the things that I have going well in my life mean that I show up and I present myself in this, package tied up with a bow. I love that I go to church and I see people that, I mean, I've talked about this. I know people there that are multimillionaires, and I also know people there that are on the brink of homelessness. And I also know people that are going through addiction and other issues around trying to get sober or trying to get their life together. So if you're going to church and in your mind, you would see one of those people and you would outwardly judge, or you would say, oh gosh, I don't want to go to a church where we got, homeless people. Then I think that you might have to reevaluate what motivates you to be part of a faith community. Because for me, I'm going to go, show up before God, like warts and all. And so that means being not just having the humility, but also saying to myself, like, I don't have everything figured out. So I still have a lot to learn. I think that's what's hard, because I don't think we always approach God with an air of humility.
I just think there's a certain pocket of people who are ruining it. Because I had a beautiful experience.
People.
I had a beautiful experience, and I understand that. I think, being Catholic, I understand that, again, product of Catholic school, Catholic, right? I understand that there is a perception of that. I understand that. I'm well aware. So when people were attacking me all weekend, you don't know, I'm aware. I also pulled my children out of Catholic school. Okay. So last week, on Ash Wednesday, I went to a different church to get my ashes because it was over the lunch hour. And I was overwhelmed with emotion because I am sitting amongst people from so many different cultures and different countries. It was beautiful. And I was like, this is what I love. Like, it's because
like a shared faith, despite your language
barriers. I mean, I was sitting next to people from Burma. I mean, I was sitting next to people from Mexico. It was beautiful. And that is the church that I know. I was, this opened the door for a conversation with my older two kids over the weekend. And my kids were like, what would have happened if you were in Catholic high school, and yada, yada. And I said, it did happen. I remember, and I've written a story about this, one part of it. I was playing basketball. It was a very intense game. And my coach was yelling. He was like, Mandy. And I turned around and I was like, what? Like, just at my coach. And he was somebody he chewed. He was Croatian descent. He did not mess with him. And he was like, he always chewed gum. He always pulled his gum. And then he was like this. He stopped chewing. I was out of the game, right? And when the game like basically just started, I was at the end of the bench. He walks down the bench and he looks at me. He said, "Get comfortable." And he said, "If you ever talk to me like that again, you'll never see the floor." So that happened. After that next day, I go into school and my vice principal had called me in to her office, and she was a nun. She is a nun. And I got detention because my behavior was not indicative of how I should be acting.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So there is something that we go by. It's called Catholic social teaching. And I think it's just a good reminder, especially over Lent. And I have to remind myself, right? There's like a way in what Catholic social teaching is. And when you revisit it, if you are a Catholic, it levels you a bit. It brings you down. And I had to remind myself, but I think all weekend I was just kind of agitated. And here's the thing. I knew when I took my personal page, I knew when
this was your personal page.
This was
where
my
you
personal
posted
page.
it. Okay.
It was my personal page. And so then it was like, people were like,
That's a good distinction.
I saw the screenshots and I was like, all right, baby girl, grab me a mic. I'll say it again. Like you can't threaten an authentic or real, you can't threaten real people with screenshots because we stand 10 toes down on it. And I knew my husband said, Hector said, you're going to get a lot of crap for that. I'm like, I don't care. It needs to be said. But rather than I'm used to this, there's nothing new in this script, right? There's nothing new. I witnessed something. I speak on what I witnessed, right? And rather than talking about that issue, we're going to attack my character. We're going to attack me and try to ruin my reputation. So it's just the merry-go-round. I'm on it again. And I'm not like, oh my gosh, I'm not a victim, but I'm tired. It's just gets real tired.
Well, and also I think a lot of people, they might agree with your take, or they would say, oh, I think that was, abhorrent behavior or whatever, but they would never want to publicly say something. And they only talk behind backs.
Well, and this is the thing.
This is the thing that too.
This is what I'm so funny. Like, this is what's crazy. Okay. I said it, and that's who I am, because I will never change. Like, I'll say it. I'll take, the bullets. Okay. People can go out there and like post about me and they can write it. There were hundreds of other eyes who saw everything that I saw. So there's no changing. Like, it's okay. Sure. You're going to make me look bad, but people already saw what they saw.
And it's also, okay, remember, this is a Gen X reference. Remember when we thought Ferris Bueller was dying because the kids at school did the telephone game, and Ferris Bueller, as played by Matthew Broderick, he really just called in sick. But by the end of the day, it had morphed to, they were doing a fundraiser for him because they said that, he was so sick that he was going to die. Well, what's really funny is, of all people, my son, who's a very private person, he even said to me that some friend of his said that her brother was in a video that Amanda Goodman posted.
Right.
And then
Amanda Goodman didn't post.
And then I said,
anything.
She has videos, but she never posted it. So it was just so funny because I was like, okay, am I living in the Ferris Bueller?
Well, here's what's funny. I didn't, because I never post anything because it was, I won't post video of children unless I get permission.
Yeah,
a posted picture.
Fair.
I'm never going to post videos or pictures of children. So that's the difference between me and anybody else. You know what I mean? Like, if I wanted likes, also, it wasn't on my public page. If I wanted to do real damage, or if I wanted to be like, what's up, I would have posted it on the page that's going to get a 25 million person imprint. I did not. I was having it because I knew I had all of these people from this group on my personal page. Let's have a conversation about this. Still didn't name anything.
Yeah.
Still didn't name schools, people, nothing. But it's like, so for me, you already showed everything, the perception that I have right now. You just demonstrated
this
it.
person also, did you know him? The person who posted that?
No, I've never spoken to him.
That you knew him.
No.
Yeah, because I know the person, and so then I thought, well, that's weird. I don't think that she.
But this is what brings me great joy.
That's okay, because a lot of people talk about you, but they haven't met you personally.
Sure, right. But here's what's funny.
But we know who he was talking about.
I've gotten all. Yeah, exactly.
Well, just because there's no other people that are high profile locally that are influencers.
And I'm not from a small town.
When they said "want to be," it reminded me of like, what was that song?
Spice Girls.
Yeah,
Spice Girls. And I was like, want to be influencer? I was like, please don't call me an influencer ever. Like, I don't want to be an influencer.
But and also an influencer, I think of as somebody who's like making it about them. But I think that in your work or your advocacy, it's you light a match because you want to shed light on various issues, like I said, social commentary. But then the bonus or sort of the byproduct of that is then she has a lot of eyeballs already harnessed when she wants to share something that's meaningful or advocate. So you have to look at it like, you know, the chicken and the egg. It's a symbiotic.
Like, I'm not an
relationship.
a-hole. Like, I'm not an a-hole. I'm a bee.
An a-hole.
But like, I'm not an a-hole. Like, you know what I mean? That's feels very weird coming off my tongue, but I'm not going to swear because it's Lent, it's Monday, and we're on television. Like, I know what my role.
Yeah, and thanks for those of you joining us. We have a lot of people watching. Katie Webb, our friend, said, "Good for you. It's okay to cut negative, unsupportive people from your life." And I think that's the distinction here, though, that is unique. Is in the past, for years, you've never gone out of your way to block a lot of the people that disagree with you. But I think this crossed into, this was your personal page.
This was my personal page.
So one would like to think, if, especially for her, because she has a line of demarcation between her personal and professional page, she would like to think the people that are in that space of her personal page are people that there's a mutual respect and you have friendships with. And that's where I think it did cross the line. Well,
and it's, again, even on my personal page, I have people of all different backgrounds and opinions, and that's what it is. I don't want like an echo chamber, but it's, if you're there to be a surveillance camera, like, I understand, like, and I kept a couple because I want you to report back to headquarters. You know what I'm saying? Like, keep an eye. But if you're on my, why do we have anybody on our personal, personal pages who aren't there rooting for us,
or who are watching and waiting so they can check you every time you cross the line in their world, which again, that speaks to what we always talk about. And you guys uniquely will appreciate this. If you've grown up your whole life in Iowa, there is something about Iowa that we've experienced, and it's a very bizarre thing. Because we don't now, where we live in Waterloo, where I live, there is a lot of diversity, but I'm talking about more rural Iowa, right? Where it is very homogenous. I mean, and no one's upset about that. I mean, if you're white, great. We're not anti-white. We are white. We celebrate being white. But the point is, when you're around white people, there's no class system by race. So there's class system by income. So there's a lot of people that go to certain schools or live in certain towns, and they think they're superior because their town might have, in their stereotype, more affluence, or their kids are being raised in higher income brackets. So all of a sudden the class system becomes, I'm a richer or better white, and then they look down on other whites. And we see this all the time. And so what I think is so funny is I've had people say stuff to me that is very condescending. It's another white person saying it. And then I've told you, and I would love to say to them, oh, okay, are you going to say that to an African-American father or mother whose son also plays on my son's team? So they're like checking my husband because he's white and I can tell other white people what to do. But are you going to say it to people of color? Because I don't think that you would be that emboldened. And so stop yourself if you're in a situation where you start saying, well, at least I'm not as bad as those white people living in a trailer court, or I'm not as bad as those white people because they're from the other side of the tracks. And think about how what you're doing is the same thing that people marched for when it came to civil rights.
But some people don't care about that.
No, you're right.
Because
they want to feel superior.
Because the people who have been coming for me are in the same, they only will sit at tables with people who agree with them, or they are eye to eye with, and they have the same amount of, but it was a difficult weekend. And
I'm sorry but
that's okay. But I'm thankful that I know.
But then, being devil's advocate, people will say, well, by you choosing to be so honest, then it's going to activate some of the people that want to control you.
I sleep well at night,
and so that's good though, because I know that that's not going to deter you.
No, I slept well last night. I slept well, and
after you had to block a few people.
I have blocked, and it was like literally, I
And
was
how
like
many people was it that you ended up having to
like
block?
35.
Which is sad because you
35.
like you genuinely, some of those people you genuinely liked. I mean,
Some of them, but then I
yeah.
thought back and I was like, you know what? I've never seen their name
they
on like a picture.
right.
On like
it was a very fabricated existence in some.
But this is what
Friendship.
the other thing part is hilarious that I love. Like people think that I'm the only type of person that will get screenshot. The amount of screenshots that I've got from people that I don't even really like know well, that were like, I can't believe he said this about you, and her response. So it's like, let me tell you, there are people in the community that are,
they have to fall in line because they don't want the wrath of those two people.
I
So it's
understand that.
funny because those people have no idea how
That's my
much
point.
distaste they
And-
have for people that they think are on their side.
And
I hear you.
And the
That's
other
so
thing is
funny.
like, it's like I was talking to my dad about it. You know, I'm not from here. I'm not from a small town, you know, and I'm the daughter of an attorney. But my dad's like, if you had zero power and zero influence, they wouldn't be posting about you. They wouldn't
Very
even care
true.
what you
That's
think.
such a good point.
He said they're trying to detract from the
No,
fact
but
that
what's
you know.
funny is they didn't even say your name and everybody knew who he was talking about too. Like
The small
point-
town.
point well taken, right?
Yeah.
So I love this line from
Naturally.
Amy Shannon. Realizing your church is not a healthy place is a
Yes.
very hard lesson to learn. Now, here's what I'm going to say. I want to be clear. There are many, many people that will be in a church or have a shared congregation rather. You're not going to agree with everybody. We're all human. We're all sinners before God. So I would counter it. There's a lot of people that you may not love or be close with that you worship with. Focus on what's being said from the pulpit. Focus on who is, at the heart of your church in terms of their messaging, but more so the doctrine, right? So I go to a church that's Bible based, meaning like they're deriving all the lessons, scriptures, everything directly from God's word. And so what's great is you don't have to worry about when somebody offends or when a person that, is in your midst may not align with you spiritually, because we're all trying to,
Sure. Well,
not
it's
only
also,
are we under the same umbrella of we're all worshiping the same God, but at the end of the day, like you go there to grow. So you're not going to have it all figured out. So don't abandon a congregation just because one person has made you feel unwelcome, right?
Or, you can change the building. Like in the Catholic faith, there's many different buildings that you can go to and still be under the same, because you have to find what is for me, what is the Catholic faith? And I know what the Catholic faith is. So when I changed the buildings before, and I've been to multiple churches because we moved across the country, and I've changed the building when we moved to Iowa, and our building now is like, yeah,
Good,
right. It's
good.
like, people who are, as a matter of fact, I got some screenshots from people in my new building that were like, I knew this person was like this, and I just laughed. So, but thank you for letting me. That was very therapeutic, because I wanted to blog and tag this weekend, but I'm like, no. I'm like, this is
glad
not
that
worth
you
it.
didn't
No.
do that. Well, especially because you have a lot of, and you've admitted this, you have a lot of in the past carrying the emotions and weight of strangers essentially and people that you're trying to support and advocate for. That's like impacted your personal life.
Yeah.
Because when you get, and you guys know, because you guys have heard us talk about this, I mean, when she's getting sometimes 100 messages a week, because everyone who knows somebody who has an issue where they're not getting vindication or getting support and they've been victimized, they all say, call Amanda Goodman, message Amanda Goodman. So, I mean, she's overwhelmed sometimes because it's like whack-a-mole where you can't help everybody and you can't address everything. And so sometimes people will message me and they'll say, I'm trying to get a hold of Amanda. And I even had somebody call me recently and they said, I need Amanda's help. And then I was very honest. And I said, there's a lot of situations, especially if it's like domestic abuse or some kind of court involved circumstance with custody. She's not an attorney and she's never pretending to be one. So you're not going to step in and try to usurp the legal process. So I think that that's just something that we should delineate for people is don't call her, call an attorney. And I know in our system that means money and that means a lot of people have advantages if they have the money to get an attorney. And so I feel for the way that democracy and justice has now warped into kind of a have and have not legal system. And that's very tough. I mean,
It is very tough.
One only need watch 1,000 documentaries about Johnny Cochran and Robert Kardashian to understand that.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. But thank you for letting me
okay, by
talk
the way,
about that. But I
yeah.
want to, but before we continue real quick,
Yeah.
I just want to encourage you. It is Monday. It is and it is Lent. If you walk through the Lenten season, it is now a really good time because it's all about renewal. Go through, take stock of who is on your friend list, because that's the difference with social media now, right? Growing up before social media, we controlled who sat at our table, who came into our home. Our personal,
you had to see them.
our
in
personal
person.
pages, our personal pages, that's our home. That's our private life, right? Because it's like my husband, Hector, and I were talking about, like, that those are all of our private moments and celebrations. And I don't want people there who are watching my page the way that I watch the Dallas Cowboys, right? Like hate watching.
True.
So just kind of take stock and don't apologize for it. Just say, I have to do what I have to do to protect my peace. And I wrote the other day on my page, I did all of that. I didn't do any of it out of anger. I was not angry at all. I was doing it. I'm like, I love myself. I love my family. I love the life we're building. I have to protect all of that. So I need to remove this, bless and release. But why would I ever have people in my life who are not only like sitting quietly when someone is taking my name through the mud, but they're liking comments. Like that to me was,
but here's what's
horrible.
so crazy. Talk about where we live is such a small community. And it's truly this, the Kevin Bacon 6 degrees of separation. So a person that is close to the person who was bashing you, I actually had to block that person years ago because they were so mean to me. And what's so funny is I never block people. I mean, it's like,
I don't even know. Do I know?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah, she's good friends with that person who was bashing you. And so remember, I had to block that person because they were so outwardly rude. And and they were going on my page, like she said, private page, and saying like, okay, my husband and I were out because we like to go out, just the two of us, a lot. And so it was like on a Friday or Saturday night, we were out for dinner, and my kids were at the time, I think maybe like 8th grade and 10th grade. And she commented, "Where are your children?" Like in the comments. And so it was like,
playing with knives.
I actually do things with just my husband. We go on date nights. I'm an adult, and I didn't leave my kids home with matches unattended, like I had a plan for them. So, I mean, it was just so it is funny because generally I'm so laid back about, taking the passive aggressive pot shots. I mean, she has said to me before, and many friends will screenshot me and say, who is this person? Why are they talking to you that way? And then I'm usually like, yeah, we're not close, but whatever. I don't care. The latest was this lady when my mom, if you're watching, happy birthday again. My mom turned 81 on Saturday. Well, over the holidays, she surprised the grandkids, and we all went to New York for New Year's Eve, which was one of the best trips of my life. And what a blessing that I could be there with my mom. So anyway, when we got back from the trip, and I was so excited to share some of the photos, a lady who is friends with me that I don't know well commented, well, aren't you lucky that you have money to go on all these trips?
Very passive aggressive.
So then I said, well, actually, I am really blessed that my parents, both of whom came from the Great Depression era, in the sense that they were raised by Depression era parents, they sacrificed and saved their whole lives so that now in my mom's retirement years, she's been able to bless our families by putting money toward hotels and plane tickets and trips that we would not otherwise be able to afford. And so, yes, we do have money, not our own, but money that my parents are generously, applying toward life experiences for their grandchildren. So it was just so funny because it just reminded me of how people are so with social media, quick to just, rip the Band-Aid off. And again, like she said, the difference is years ago, I would have developed those photos and I would have only shown them to close friends. And there was no thing as a comment. So nobody would have said, by the way, Tara, I want to say something negative about your vacation photos. Yeah. While you're showing me these photos, I'm going to put a bubble sticker in the album, and I'm going to write a negative. I mean, that's what it's like.
Well, you know what it reminded me of? My favorite part of like school, like through all grades was the yearbook.
I knew you were going to say
because at
that.
the very end, you
And
learned
then-
what
and
people
then
thought of
You
you.
wanted to go and read what everyone else
Yes.
wrote, and then you're like, "Oh, I guess they're closer than I realized."
Well,
'Cause
no,
they
it's-
took a whole page.
Yeah,
and then,
well, like
and then you
were-
remember how you'd reserve pages. So, like my best friend, she had
no,
reserved.
we didn't reserve pages.
She had reserved for Tara on one of the pages,
Okay.
so that I would write my long letter.
But my point is like, we like that because we wanted to know how people really, really felt about us. So that's why
true. That's a great point.
when like that's what social media was supposed to be. Like so for your people, it was supposed to be like just a daily yearbook. How do you?
Well, we've talked about this in that documentary that's excellent. I think it's called, what is it? The Social Experiment.
Yes.
It talks about, and we've said this, the guy who created the like button when he worked for Facebook had no ill will tied to it. He never dreamed, which he should have recognized, we're all human. He never dreamed that it would be used for anything but good. Well, now we know that it's used and morphed into, if I don't get the likes, I'm depressed, right? In some respects. I mean, isn't it sad?
It is sad.
He had no idea that would be the unintended consequence.
Right.
And he feels a lot of guilt about that. And so one thing that is kind of interesting, and she and I have seen this a lot, and I don't think it's a bad thing. And I'll give this extreme example. Kim Kardashian, she has a shared TikTok with her daughter North, and 9 out of 10 times they turn off the comments because Kim doesn't want her daughter to be subjected to all the hate. And so even though that's people who are very high profile, I can understand why some parents are like, look, if you're going to be on social media, we're not going to have comments because we don't want you spiraling if people start trolling kids, right? And this happens all the time. So I respect and understand why some people, delete or turn off the comments. Nice. Speaking of comments, Lori Cox, great live chat today. Thank you for addressing these issues and being real. Thank you for letting us talk about things that I think a lot of women in particular deal with, but we don't always vocalize or process the feelings that befall us when things can go sideways. And life is messy, and human relationships are a constant source of ebb and flow, right? I mean, sometimes things are great and sometimes you're at odds with your closest people, and we just have to learn as humans like how to respectfully navigate that. Also not always take it personally, because I think for us, we were in a unique position where we took a lot of that stuff personally. And now looking back, I wish that it had not upset me as much, even though we had every reason to feel attacked.
Well, I'm like looking for, I think I already blocked this person.
She's trying to find a post, but she can't. She blocked the person.
It's just, it's knowing that people have this. I'm
just proud of you for admitting that it hurt you and it bothered you, because I think that people sometimes mistake strength or women that are outspoken for, well, I can say whatever I want about Amanda because she's such a loudmouth, so she can take it. Yeah. But the thing is, like, she's not saying everything to get a reaction. Sometimes she's just trying to shine a light on something and say, hey, I had a problem with this. In this case, it was on her personal page, but whatever, because again, everyone, that's the free country we live in. You have freedom of speech. Sure. And just like she has the freedom to say, oh, that's fine. I don't want you in my personal life anymore, digitally speaking. So that's good. So now we can wash our hands and you go your separate ways, but then don't come back later and say, which I predict that some of this will happen. Some people will say to me, well, I don't understand why Amanda blocked me. And so then I already prepared for this. And what I will tell that person or people, I will say, well, in her personal existence that extends to her digital platform, she just didn't feel like you had her back. And she actually felt that you were trying to kind of, glom on or gang up. And so she has a right to put some distance. Now, if you want to follow us on Faith and 4 Letter Words, we're still public. We're still there. Join us every Monday, Wednesday, Friday for the group.
You got to ask yourself, when you have people sitting at your table, and not even just the people who are sitting at your table, but who are they associated with? Are they coming to sit down and ready to feed you poison, but they have a smile on their face? If they look a certain way, and that's the problem. That's what I get. Like, the most evil people around. It's the meme of the snake crawling around that has the pretty bonnet on their head. Have you ever seen that? I've
Yes.
shared that, right? You know, it's
That's so funny. That's so true.
that's who's hurt me the worst. The ones that have fooled, have like look a certain way and they don't have and it's it's just, I mean, it was hurtful. It's also the irony that the day before, these people were all getting ashes on their forehead.
Well,
And
but
then 2
they
days
were
later-
upset at you because we were at a show last week in Ackley, and there was a girl, we talked about it, young adult, and she had the Eat a D shirt because she is somebody who at some point in her life felt mistreated, and so she had a kindred spirit with Amanda. Like, this was Amanda's rallying cry for standing up to a lot of emotional abuse. And so this girl felt that she had an ally in Amanda. So then you posing with her wearing that shirt and having the ashes on your head, it definitely lit a match. You know,
people were very judgy, and people were very like, "How dare you do that?" I mean, I got so many messages about it, and then like people were like screenshotting and like sending, and it's like, I stand on it because, Jesus didn't let anybody. I mean, like, he didn't want anybody to be mistreated. I was mistreated, and that was my response. Was that the most eloquent way to respond? No, but it wasn't the most eloquent way to handle me either. So. Yes, let me flip a table right quick, and let's remember also.
We also need to
but
say
hold
that.
on. Like,
Okay,
but also,
go ahead,
like,
go ahead.
let's also know, like, Peter sliced off an ear. So I mean, I didn't slice off an ear.
But what I think we need to be clear about is you are never, and you've been very adamant about this in our show, post telling that story. She's never advocating for be disrespectful,
No,
curse at your boss,
no.
wear obscene and inappropriate shirts to offend people at work or in professional settings. She was simply saying, this is how I responded when I was pushed to the brink. Okay. So I think we just need to be clear that you're not encouraging women everywhere to show up at work and be disrespectful, or nor do we ever. I mean, we talk about this all the time. She doesn't wear that shirt like to work and expect people to say, I can wear whatever I want. No. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I just think, because I think it's all or none. People think you're either trashy or you're classy. Well,
this is my
we're
mantra.
all in the gray. We're living in the gray.
This is my mantra. It is do no harm.
Is it mantra? Is that how you say it?
Mantra.
I should say that.
I
say
my
mantra. So I think it's weird how it's like a Midwest.
It's also pajama.
You're right.
I mean...
mantra. But mantra is probably the correct pronunciation.
Do no harm. Do no harm. Take no shit.
Yeah.
Take no crap. Good. Do no harm. Do no harm. Take no crap. Like, I do not go out. Like, I don't walk. We say it. We joke at the show. I don't walk up into Casey's. I'm not like, what up, bees? Eat a D. Like, that's not how I live my life. Right. However, if you bring nonsense to my doorstep and I open the door, like, I will handle it. Right. But I don't come to your door. I'm not coming to your door, and I'm not trying to ruin your life, but you're trying to ruin my life. So now, as we say, like, it's on like Donkey Kong.
That's
now it's on
a Gen X reference. Debbie has a great comment. She said, snake with the bonnet on LOL may have to find that meme. It's actually
I will
hilarious
find it for you.
because as soon as you said it, I pictured Richard Scarry, because remember the snake and Richard Scarry is like dressed, or no, that was Lowly the Worm. Lowly the Worm. It has like a hat on. Okay. So on another very important note, if any of you spent time on this cold weekend in February watching any television, I had the great...
Did you watch it?
I had the great pleasure with my mom on Saturday when I was home for her birthday. I watched all the episodes that have been released, and it's Ryan Murphy produced. So Ryan Murphy is the guy, I believe, who did that Kim Kardashian show on Hulu. The Hulu show about Carolyn Bessette and JFK Jr. called Love Story. I loved it, but I need to qualify this. I have always been, my father before me passed this on, I have always been a voracious, now not in my later years, but in my younger years, I was a voracious reader of People and Us magazine, and I
Okay.
very much was always up on the celebrity relationships and gossip and all the things. And I extended that into, in some ways, our fascination with Real Housewives, which my mom laughs and said that my dad would have loved the show Love is Blind.
Oh,
like
for
he would
sure.
have been all about that. So interestingly, my mom and I watched all these episodes on Hulu, and I didn't even have my Hulu subscription. I had canceled,
Okay.
and I had reactivated it for the Jodie Huisentruit documentary. Well, now I actually reactivated it for this love story series. And the thing that was so interesting, I felt like I knew so much about them by way of the tabloids. And when I say tabloids, a little bit more believable coverage and like People and Us, even though there's fabrications there. But the point is we in the 90s very much followed that relationship, because JFK Jr. is like, and the Kennedys, as many of you will attest, that's like our version of American royalty, right? Have been the Kennedys traditionally, with Camelot and Jackie O, which, by the way, I saw the exhibit when it came to Chicago, to I think the Natural History Museum, of Jackie O's dresses. And
Yes.
talk about a tiny person.
She's very tiny.
I mean, it's
She's
like,
very tiny.
do you ever go to Hard Rock Cafe and you see like the Fonz? I remember I saw the Fonz's jacket, and I was like, it looks like a 12-year-old's jacket.
Yeah,
you
they're
know,
all
you're like
tiny.
forgetting how tiny these
Yeah.
people are. So I loved that. So if you ever at any point in your life back in the 90s saw the photos of Carolyn when she worked at Calvin Klein and followed JFK's saga with breaking up with Daryl Hannah and then marrying Carolyn Bessette, I promise you, you will enjoy this sort of chronicled fiction about them. The second thing I have to say is I love the show The Pit. It's in its second season. So my mom has HBO Max. So we watched a bunch of those. It's done on each episode is an hour by hour account of how things unfold in an emergency room in Pittsburgh. I am not a fan of, is it Grey's Anatomy, where George Clooney and Noah Wiley were co-stars years ago?
No,
or is it
that was
ER?
ER.
ER. Okay. I'm not a fan and never watched either of their shows. Noah Wiley, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, is absolutely brilliant in The Pit. And the fact that he won the Emmy restored my faith in those award shows, because the guy he is so believable. When you watch it, it almost feels like you're watching a documentary in an emergency room.
Well,
he's so good.
I have heard that. I didn't watch.
He's
I didn't watch
excellent.
any of those this weekend. I was caught up on Love is Blind, but I had.
I still have to catch up.
I had a moment. You have to catch up so we can discuss it, because it's through the roof.
I know.
But last night,
I've got it. I didn't have time. I was watching Love Story and The Pit.
But last night I had a moment of deep parental pride, because I was already in bed with the heating pad. I was ready to go. And then I heard a familiar sound in the living room when I went outside, and my oldest is out there. She just got back from an indoor soccer game. And I look up and I see Cindy Mancini on the screen. So she was watching Can't Buy Me Love.
Oh, that's such a classic.
And it was,
if you guys watch that or haven't, go back and rewatch it with your kids, because I watched it with my son and daughter and they really liked it.
1987, and this is before he was known as McDreamy. We knew him as Ronald Miller. And so I was standing there, and I have like my cup of water in my hand, and I'm like just quoting the whole movie, and my daughter is sitting there like laughing at me. So then I'm like, I take a picture of the TV and I'm like sending it to my brother, because my brother and I, we quote certain movies, and that is on
Money Pit is great. That's a great one that you
quote. Money Pit,
and
Adventures
Mr.
in
Mom.
Mr. Mom,
Those
Adventures
are
in
also-
Babysitting.
They're iconic movies. Okay, also Girls Just Want to Have Fun with Helen
We just
Hunt
watched
and
that
Sarah
last week.
Jessica Parker. That movie is
And I
the
love,
best.
because we were joking, because her character reminds us of Arya, because Arya, my youngest, is very like, she's like our hippie child, and she's very just happy, and she's like,
yeah, that's how
and
she
I
was.
love
And that's
to
how she was
dance.
in real life too, remember? Because
Yes.
she had a very communal youth
Right.
existence where she got into acting, because I think she came from a really large
Yeah.
family.
So those movies,
Now,
that was fun.
speaking of Sarah Jessica Parker, it's so interesting, because if you watch her over the years, many people don't recognize that she really was quite young when she became, a pretty well-known actress. But it wasn't until Sex and the City
Mhm.
that she became kind of a household name. But it's so interesting, because I did love the reboot of Sex and the City and Just Like That, but there were a lot of things about it that people found either offensive or disjointed. She to me has been such this like iconic character that in any way, shape, or form that they push her out in that role of Carrie Bradshaw, I just always enjoy it. So I still enjoyed And Just Like That for all the fashion and how, you know, she's always coming up with some like show-stopping outfit. But I also think it is hard, like we grew up with and were younger when Sex and the City came out. So to see it stray so far from how the show used to be, it was not something a lot of Gen Xers embraced, and they canceled it.
You can't have it without Samantha. Like you cannot have it without Samantha.
They had allegedly with Kim Cattrall the falling out in real life. Now it's so interesting because when you look at that sort of body of work of Sex and the City, it's a great example of how some people are so permanently associated with their character that you can't get past that. And that's what happened to that Robbie. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. The guy who played Freddie Mercury in that Queen biopic. I can't look at him. Every time I look at him, I think of Freddie Mercury.
Gene Wilder. Gene Wilder as a Gene Wilder. He hated doing Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah, because
he was getting typecast, and he's like, that's his biggest. I think he said that was his biggest regret when he did it. So it is very interesting. But we want to know what you're watching. Put it in the group chat. The Love Is Blind, What Gave Me Life was all the memes, and that's why I need you to get to the episode that I'm talking about, because it like the memes are spot on, and
I can't. I am mad that you even said this, even though it's good to talk about. But now my phone has heard her say this, and then today they'll be serving me up memes. I don't want any spoilers. I haven't watched that far. Don't serve up any.
But I think
blind memes.
But I think you would have. I think you already would have picked up on it.
I had a sense of what was going to go.
But
you're right.
But it really circles. It really like brings back the whole conversation we've had today. It is like the level of audacity on people. It's like the level of it.
But you know, my husband has nailed it. He said in these later seasons, you can tell that part of it is they just want to keep it going so they can stay on TV.
I mean,
you know what I'm saying? They don't want to be, because they have to act like they're still going to make it to the altar to stay on TV.
I will just say, before people open their mouth, and this is whether it's you're on the set of Love Is Blind or if you're in real life, Cedar Valley, Iowa, you better check yourself first. You better make sure that everything about you and your life is tight before you start coming at other people.
Quoting a famous line from Real Housewives of Atlanta with
"Who gonna check me, boo?"
Yeah,
who gonna check me, boo?
It's one of our. I say that line. I brought that up to my stylist, and she knew the line the other day, and I was laughing, thinking, like, isn't it funny how like a random line on this far-flung reality show became like part of the part of our vernacular.
She said it, like there was an interaction between two women,
and it's from like 15 years ago.
Yeah, and she just looks down, and she's like, "Who gonna check me, boo?" Like, basically, who are you? Who are you to? And it's a good way to live through life. Like, who are you to talk to me like that? Like, who are you?
So, oh my gosh,
and
those are
because you know what's also funny. I had a lot of family members from back home that were looking at that solved this, and they were all like, "Who is this? Who are you? Like, where do you live? Like, what school do you go to? Like, what are you affiliated with?" Because back where I'm from, like you're this big. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's people come at me and they think that they think, because I do right now, my family and we live in a small town. I'm not from and I love that small town, but you don't know anything about me or my bloodline. So it's kind of like
that sounded like Oprah.
Like I mean, like you better know who you are stepping to.
But I think the way that kind of positions you differently that I can uniquely explain, because I too am from other parts. I come from other parts, both coasts at different times in my life. When you've lived elsewhere, you have a perspective that's much different. Not just from life experience, but also just literally where you have spent, time growing as an individual. Your viewpoint and your sort of big literal sort of big picture view of things is so different that when somebody hits you under the belt, they think that it's going to impact you because this is your whole world.
Yeah,
Does
no.
that make sense?
Yeah, oh, for sure.
So it's like, oh,
sure.
as long as I can turn the Cedar Valley against her, I've got her. And it's like, actually, you're answering to, or you're looking at things through a much different lens. And so I think that's the part that needs to be sort of clarified.
Yeah.
Right? Because
My page is not about from Cedar Valley
for some
people.
you care about the same 10 families or the same people at the country club, and those people are going to be, you're going to be 85 still having dinner dates with them, and then maybe you're all going to hold hands and sing Kumbaya until you walk off into the sunset. I think for you, it's fair to say, and we all have evolved in this respect. There's going to be a lot of new relationships, friendships, and probably zip codes that would make up your world between now and the end of time. And good for you to be able to have that different perspective, right? And so it just reminds you of how everything in your small bubble seems so big. But in the scheme of other people's lives, it's very inconsequential. Is that a respectful way to say it?
Absolutely,
right?
it is a respectful way to say it.
And like so respectfully, she probably doesn't care if you don't like her, because there's a lot of people that also might not like her, but that doesn't mean that your friendships end and begin with your neighborhood.
This is what, have you ever, like we worry about the people who don't like us. Do you like them? I mean, like, do you like them? Like, first of all, people who are coming at me, half of them I don't even know. So, okay. But like, I don't like you either. I don't respect you either. Like, you don't have that power.
But you don't
over
even
me.
know them. So I don't think that you're even thinking about
I'm not even
either.
thinking of them,
well,
but
no,
it's like, why are you, but I will speak of nobody if I don't know them. If I don't know somebody, their name will not be in my mouth. Their name will not be in my mouth. So that's the difference between me and other people. Okay. But the people who are criticizing me, and it's kind of like, that's what I used to always give them so much power. Like, oh, this person doesn't like me, this person. But then I now hit pause. Like, but do I like them? Do I respect them? Like, no. So again, why do I have all them?
Yeah, no, it's fair. Okay, we
Lesson
want a
release.
quick comment from Dar Jensen Piper. Pitt has been renewed for a third season.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for letting me know that. It's definitely great television, so I'm not surprised. And the girl who plays the head nurse at the nurses station, I've seen interviews with her. She was somebody who just thought, I'm never going to make it as an actress, kind of like threw in the towel, and then became sort of iconic in this role that she's currently in. So if there's anyone in healthcare right now, if you've ever worked in healthcare, you would really appreciate how the character development of the Pitt, because it puts a face and a person behind all these various roles, in this case, in an emergency room. So I really enjoyed it. Okay. Also, I wanted to say that.
Sorry, I just got a text from Nico. I need more texturizing powder. Sure, son.
What is that?
The stuff for the hair.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, that's so
breaking
funny.
news. Text from my son.
Texturizing
Supposed to be at school.
powder.
He's out of texturizing powder.
I love it. So I wanted to be sure and mention, if you are going to be in the Lawler area this Wednesday, our friends at the Starlight Ballroom are so gracious to host us for a return to Lawler. When we came originally, a lot of time has passed from our first visit, and a lot of the content of the show has changed. And so a lot of what I talk about is not, what I originally shared when we first took the stage at the Starlight Ballroom. But if you or someone would love to join us Wednesday from 6 to 8, you can go to faithandfourletterwords.com, and there is a link to all of the live show tickets, including the upcoming show in Jessup. And then we have an exciting show at the end of March as well in Alden. So Tuesday, March is the 24th. Let me look. So Tuesday, March 24th, we're in Alden, which we can't wait. They're going all out, the ladies in Alden. They've got some food trucks and some other vendors that will be part of it. And then on Wednesday, March 25th, we're back in Jessup at the Country Club.
About Jessup.
And I also have to tease that we will be, in March, we will be bringing you some of this show on location. So
we're not going to tell you where.
Details to come.
Not going to tell you where.
Yeah.
Not going to tell you where.
So
my four-letter word of the day is, I think it's appropriate for what we've talked about. It's shed, right? Shed, whether it's people, shed people, shed places, just shed whatever is not serving you right now, and it's okay, and just kind of come into your own, come into like who you want to be and who you want to be surrounded with.
And it's okay to not have it all figured out, because as you've seen, as we detail on this morning show, life and relationships are a messy process that
Right.
we're always trying to navigate, you
Mhm.
know, so you're not alone if you feel frustrated in some of your current circumstances. The verse of the day comes from 1 Chronicles chapter 16, verse 11. Look to the Lord and his strength, seek his face always. And I love this, because when things are going well,
Mhm.
or when things are going
Yes.
not so well, you can always turn to God. And when you seek him, you will find that you draw from his strength when your human strength is lacking.
Yeah.
So
Ooh.
have a great Monday. We love that you're helping join and support and push the group chat to a lot of views that 2 former news anchors are appreciative to receive.
Yeah, hitting the
So-
2 million view mark. And, you know, in the words of my late uncle who said it best, count to 10, swing on 3.
Have a great day. We'll see you on Wednesday. We're back right here at 7.
The group chat is brought to you by the empowering staff at Middle River Cabinetry and Splendore Medical Spa.